Welcome back to Stocklabs for another market recap. We are about halfway through November now, and it was a pretty crazy week for markets. I mean, the NASDAQ kind of went crazy to the upside. Small caps were pretty weak. There was another comment or statement from Jerome Powell on Thursday that people interpreted as hawkish, but kind of whatever. So yeah, for the week, Qs were up almost 3%, 2.87, including a big Friday. S&P up 1.35%, also pretty big Friday. Dow was up 0.7, kind of flattish. Bonds were flat, modestly up. And the small caps were down 3% for the week. So big divergence out of the Russell 2000. So that's kind of how things shook out at the index level. Crude was down 4%. It's below $79 a barrel, so presumably White House is going to be filling up the strategic petroleum reserve. So that's it for the major stuff. As far as our mega caps, they all did really well with the exception of Tesla. So Nvidia up 7%, Apple up 5%, Microsoft up almost 5%, Meta 4.5%, Amazon 3.5%, Google 2.5%. Google kind of just in line with the NASDAQ. The rest were all outperforming the NASDAQ itself. So this is where a lot of the strength was concentrated this week. If we look at breadth by industry, it's not really a whole lot to be excited about from this perspective. Healthcare, again, a big loser, down 6%. Utilities also down 3%. Materials down 5%. And the rest was kind of flattish to down, down 1-2%. Something like that, but you can see there are no green industries here. So subsector wise, we don't even have a single one up over 5%. So you really see that the strength was in those handful of magnificent seven, as they're called now, stocks. On the downside, we've got a lot of the familiar faces, some of the EV stuff, solar, a lot of the spec biotech type stuff. These were all down. Silver got hammered. Gold got hammered. So really really a lot of weakness. Actually, we've got 25. We've got 29 sectors down 5%. So, that's kind of a pretty weak week that you wouldn't be able to tell just looking at the headline index performance. As far as breadth by market cap, probably you can guess what this looks like. 1 to 5 billion down 3%. You've got 5 to 10 billion down 1.25. 10 to 50 billion down 0.6. 50 to 100 billion flat, up 5 basis points. 100 billion cap plus stocks up 65 basis points. Okay week, but nowhere near where the NASDAQ and the Qs performed. So you can see that stocks are trailing the indices at this time. If we look at the intelligence for this week, there's not a whole lot on here. Okay, Nvidia's bullish, some kind of rate thing. ARK bullish, and bear. Dow Jones Internet is bullish. And if I invert this, we've got a few things are on here. Gold miners bearish. Natural gas bearish. Oil and gas, bear. Oil and gas explorers is bearish, so bullish oil and gas. UVXY is bearish. Another VIX bear ETF and another VIX bear ETF. So, I think based on what the market did last week, I was kind of looking for a choppy week last week. For most of the market, it was, with the exception of sort of the NASDAQ leaders. So I think you're sort of in for one of two things. Either you are going to get some rotation into the smaller cap stuff if the market's going to start really legging higher here, or you actually will get a choppy week this week where, maybe the NASDAQ stalls out, small caps trade up one day, down another day, and things sort of end up going nowhere. But, you can tell that, there was a lot of short covering in the NASDAQ, especially because these companies were sort of starting to get written off over the last couple of months due to, the rate outlook. And when the rate outlook sort of went back to a more neutral stance, fund managers were forced to put their exposure back on. So that's why you see these days where it seems like there's actually not a single seller, because there's not. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, ideally from the NASDAQ's perspective, you want to consolidate some of these gains instead of just seeing these like straight up moves. I mean, the market is, if you gave back 400 points in a day, it wouldn't really matter. Not that it wouldn't matter, but you kind of wouldn't notice because you just went up 400 points like in 2 days anyway, or 1 day anyway. So you want to sort of build out a bit of a base here before continuing higher. But, we'll see how it goes. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. Any downside would likely be limited anyway. And from there, market looks fine into end of the year. At least in the larger cap stuff, 50 billion and up caps. So if you're playing in those ones, you're fine. If it's small caps, it gets a little more whippy. So that's it from me. Hope you guys have a good week out there, and be back next week. So have fun. Bye.